So how is everybody this fine evening?
Hey, Blake.
How are you?
We're doing good, Blake.
Excellent,
How are
excellent.
you doing?
Great.
Are you in St. George?
I'm in St. George.
We missed the deer horns.
Well, I just had to come down and hike Zion.
All right.
So we are live and ready to go whenever the group is.
Well, I believe we're ready. I think we have the council here, and we've got representation from the committee. So let's go ahead and get started and hope that others do join us. So welcome, council, and welcome citizens, and welcome members of the committee. It's good to have you with us tonight. This is obviously an important step in North Ogden's history, and we want to make sure we're doing things right and addressing all the issues, and appreciate those who are serving on the committee and the work they've put in. I know there's been a lot of work, so thank you so much. So tonight we'll begin our meeting with a thought or a prayer and a pledge of allegiance by Council Member Severing, all the way from St. George, Utah. So Councilman Severing, what do you have on the agenda tonight? A prayer, a thought, or?
I was planning on a prayer and then the Pledge of Allegiance.
Well, let's go ahead and move forward then.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we appreciate the opportunity to serve in the city as we do, and grateful that we collectively enjoy such a wonderful place to live. We're grateful for that blessing as we make decisions tonight, or at least collaborate tonight. Pray that we might be able to have inspiration, that we might be able to have a good discussion, and feel free about sharing thoughts and opinions, and be able to work to a great solution. We're grateful for this new year, and we appreciate the lessons learned of 2020. We do pray, however, that would bless us, that COVID will continue to decline in its power, that we might be able to return to a normal life, whatever that might be for us in the future. And we're mindful of those in our great city who may struggle with health and other challenges, and pray thy blessings upon them. Again, seek thy blessings and give great thanks unto thee for our abundance. And we pray for this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Councilman Severing, very much. Let's go ahead and proceed then with the Pledge of Allegiance.
If you'll follow after me, I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Councilman Severing. We appreciate you starting our meeting off with such a good prayer. We surely need it, so thank you very much. So I'm by law required to read the following about conducting our city council meeting without an anchor location. So let me proceed with reading that. This is a determination of North Ogden City regarding public meetings without an anchor location. Pursuant to Utah Code Section 59-2-407, the mayor of North Ogden City hereby determines that conducting an electronic meeting with an anchor location presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at the anchor location. This determination is based upon the November 8th, 2020 declaration by the governor of the state of Utah regarding the increase in COVID-19 cases and the need for caution in people meeting together. The January 5th, 2021 meeting of North Ogden City will be held electronically and will not have a physical location. All attendees will connect remotely, and links for public participation are available on the North Ogden City website. And I will sign that a determination in the morning and make it official. The other thing before we get into our active agenda, I would like to provide an opportunity for any council member this evening who feels like there's any item on the agenda that may be a conflict or a perceived conflict of interest, if they would so now state. Okay, seeing no perceived or actual conflicts of interest identified, we will go ahead then and enter into our active agenda. And we'll start tonight with public comments. Just as a reminder, while John sets that up, you can participate via chat or voice. If you would be kind enough this evening to limit your comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. And if you would like to make a comment, if you would state your full name and address, that would be helpful for the record. So, John, if you would watch to see if there are any public comments and let us know.
We do have a raised hand from Brenda Ashdown.
Oh, great. Glad Brenda's with us tonight. So, Brenda?
Hi, Brenda Ashdown, 193 East Pleasant View Drive. I bet you guys get so excited when you hear my name.
We do. We love it.
This doesn't have anything specific to do with this meeting, but it's something that I wanted to pass on. My blue garbage can had a broken lid. I called the Public Works Wednesday last week. They told me they were half day Thursday and closed Friday. They would come out the first of this week. Monday morning, my garbage can was, I believe, replaced. And I had called them and told them, but I wanted you to know, whoever their bosses are, that they pardon me, they came right out, they fixed it, they did a great job. I appreciate that.
Well, thanks, Brenda. Just to clarify, they're actually our bosses, but we will pass on to them your appreciation. And it was very meaningful that you would take the time to do that. Oftentimes, our Public Works and other servants in the city don't get that recognition. So thank you very much. And we will make sure that they know that you made us aware of that. And we have a great Public Works department. So thank you.
I've seen some complaints about their not getting out to do work projects and stuff, but they were just right on the ball for me.
Well, good. That's awesome. And we wouldn't know what to do if we didn't have some complaints. So,
but you got to have some positive once in a while.
We do, and we thank you very much for taking the time to do that. So thank you. See anybody else, John?
Not at this time.
Let's just give it a couple seconds to make sure that no one's having any difficulties joining us electronically. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to item number 3 on our active agenda. That would be a review of the police court open houses. And we have our great police chief with us tonight, Chief Quinney, who's, I understand it's about 3.5 hour report. So we better get started. Chief, let's go ahead.
I have a half a page of notes, Mayor. I'll try to drag that out. We'll see.
Well, you'll have to talk really slow then, I guess, Chief.
So the committee and those involved with some of our meetings decided, we wanted to be as open as possible with this building and some of the deficiencies and the concerns that we have. And we thought one of the ways we could do that was to hold a couple of open houses. So we did hold 2 open houses in October. And we got those invites out. We got some inserts put out in the utility billing. We got some announcements put out on social media and on the website. So we ended up having those open houses October 14th and October 29th. They were both from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. On the first outing, we had about 15 citizens show up to come and tour the building. And on the second outing, we had about 20. So not too bad. Basically, the idea was, if anybody had any questions or just kind of want to know what it was we're talking about, that they could come out and just take a look and see for themselves. We had committee members on hand. We had some council members on hand, city administration, and department staff. And at various locations in the building, the staff that actually works with that particular location where they're on hand to answer questions and kind of to point out some things from their perspective as an employee who has to work with it. So I think it was really successful, and we asked for everybody that came through at the end. We asked for their input. We gave them an email address and asked for them to reach out to us. We wanted to know what they thought, good, bad, in favor of, or against, or it didn't matter. We just wanted to know what they thought. We did get some good feedback. We got probably 4 or 5 emails sent in to us, and all positive. Everybody could see the need. There was a lot of comments on safety and security, and the mention of how impressed they were with the staff and the professionalism they were showing, and the upbeat kind of way they were presenting the whole idea, given the circumstances that they were dealing with. They thought it was really impressive that the staff was still as positive as they were. So I was really happy with the outcome. I think we kind of met what our objectives were. And I hope that the public that came and had a chance to go through also was able to meet what their objectives were. So I think it turned out to be really good, positive thing. I know many of you that weren't there as part of the went through and walked through, and maybe it was the first time you've been through the facility. So I hope everybody learned something.
Anything else, Chief?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks to you and the team for spending the evening down there and at least allowing citizens to give us input, and because I think we're all in agreement. We want this to be as transparent as possible. We don't want any surprises or anything of that nature. So I think that was a good step of meeting our objective of being transparent and letting the citizens get involved. I wish we would have had more, but all we can do is invite, right?
Yeah. I thought it went well, though.
Good. Yeah, I think you and your team did a good job. So thank you very much. If you have nothing else, Chief, let's move on to item 4 then on our agenda this evening, which is discussion regarding the next project steps and deadlines. And we have our chairman, Mayor Brent Chugg, and grateful for his involvement in this process. And so let's hear from you, Mayor.
Okay, I guess the deadline is today.
Well, I don't know if you've been down there lately, but it's built and occupied. Where have you been?
Okay. Well, congratulations, first of all, Mayor, on your recent retirement. I see you even made the billboards along the highway, so that's quite an achievement.
Well, thank you. That was quite a surprise. And Associated is a great company, and I'm in the new stage of life, so I might have to get some hints from you, some mentoring.
Okay. I assume that John Call will have the responsibility to make sure that you are gainfully employed and keep you busy there.
Well, I understand he's asked for some Xanax, prescription for Xanax, because he's concluded that I might be down at the office more now.
Okay. I guess congratulations also to Annette Spenlove on her retirement and for her many years of service to our city. So moving ahead on the public safety building, the open houses that was mentioned by the chief and other contacts that I've made, I find that no one has said to me, we don't need a new building or we can get by for a little longer. Some who were against the project said after visiting the facility, they didn't know that we were so inadequate. So that was kind of pleasing to have that exposure. The question was always asked afterward, how much is it going to cost and how much does it going to affect my taxes? And I think this is one of the missing answers that we need to address as soon as we possibly can. Since we've started the year 2021, it's a critical year where everything needs to be accomplished in order to get this building put together. We feel as a committee that the mayor and the city council needs to make some critical decisions so the project can move forward this year. A November election will come fast. The first thing we need to do is hire a design firm immediately to put together a facility that will meet our needs for the next 30 to 50 years. It needs to be customized to meet the needs of North Ogden. If we hire a design firm today, it probably would be into June before we could have a completed product. We at this time could come up with an estimated cost to begin selling the project to the citizens if we had that design put together and some estimates from contractors or wherever we can get those provided. Number two, we need also to get Zions on board as soon as possible to help us determine how we could effectively bond to finance the project. That'll be one of the important things in regard to what we have in the city as far as finances and what will be necessary to complete the project. We will need to purchase and demo the house next door in order to fit the project on the property. So in summary, the clock is ticking fast and we hope that we can get started with construction early in 2022 and be ready to move in later that year. We as a committee are anxious to see this happen and are willing to participate wherever we can. But these items that I have stressed this evening need to be addressed by city government and administration as the next steps in moving the project forward.
Is that your report, Mayor?
Yes.
If I could just maybe ask a couple of questions. I think I'm always a believer that you kind of take things head on. We know that there are certain folks out there that are somewhat against this project. We asked the committee some time ago to contact, I think it was 10 people each, because we need community support in this. Do you have a report on if that assignment was accomplished? Because I would like to take, some of those calls, I would like to be to those who are vocal somewhat against this project.
Some of the committee that are present here this evening could respond maybe and mention, but those that I talked to regarding contacting, and not all of them contacted the full 10, but some of them contacted fairly prominent people in the community. For the most part, the percentage was pretty high as far as they recognize the need for us to have a new building, given the fact that that building was built clear back in the 50s, no longer seismic safe, and no longer provides the function of a police station because it was never designed to be one. And so, and that might be a good exercise to do again. However, we still got the element in there where they keep asking, well, what is it going to cost? How is it going to affect me? And
I think that is the next real big step before I think we even purchase the neighboring property, is to make sure we have a layout. And I was thinking about this as I was reviewing the agenda. And this is difficult, but we really haven't, as a council, asked the tough questions about the building. Because I believe that as we go forward with this, we need to have that due diligence done to make sure the tough questions have been asked. And some of those questions aren't pleasant. Some of them that have been asked, I think we need to answer. For instance, and I know Laura's not going to like this, but the issues come up is, do we spend basically $2 million for a court, or do we look at going to a regional court facility? And so as I thought about this, this is kind of green light just off the top of my head, because, I fully support the fact that we need a new building. We just have to do our due diligence. And so we have got Council Member Stoker, who has been asked to be the liaison with the police department. We have Council Member Swanson, who does a good job at the finances, which is a big part of this, as you pointed out, Mayor Chug, how we're going to pay for this and the effect it would have on citizens' property taxes. I would like to ask those two members of the council, along with Councilman Call, with City Attorney Call and myself, to sit down with the chief and you, Mayor Chug, and address these tough questions, because frankly, they haven't been asked. And we're going to be asked by the citizens, and I want to make sure that we're prepared. We all want a very adequate building that's going to last us 30 to 50 years. And, in my initial review, I don't see anything that's way out of bounds that's being asked for here. But I think we have to do our due diligence. So I would suggest our next step be to have that meeting and have it quickly. Is there any objections to that?
That's an excellent idea, Mayor.
I think that, Chief, did you have a comment?
No, I was just going to say, I think that's a great idea.
So I'm going to ask Mr. Call to set that meeting up very quickly. And then I do believe the next step would be hiring a design firm. Now, one thing on the financing, I think we all are of the opinion that we would like to minimize the effect as much as we can on our citizens. But yet, our citizens need to understand, if we're going to keep the city safe, because I'll tell you, and I'd appreciate the chief's feedback on this. I believe that building's starting to affect the morale of our officers. With everything else that's going on with law enforcement, from a distance, I believe it's having an effect on the morale of our officers and our ability to retain officers and recruit officers of the caliber that we need to recruit. Am I too far off base on that, Chief?
I don't think you are, I'm so proud of our staff. They don't complain. They come to work with a smile on their face, and they're happy to do their job. But I know that there is an effect on morale with your surroundings, and you can place this in any circumstance you want, whether it's work or home or a relative's house or whatever. But as soon as you step into an environment, what you're surrounded by affects you mentally, and to have a place to go to work that you feel supported, resources around you, and it makes a world of difference. And I know that even though our staff doesn't complain all that much about it, it's still there. It's still a reality.
Thank you, Chief. And Mayor Chug, one other thing I would like to do, we're just wrapping up our audit now, and we're trying to get our hands around the trend of revenues that are coming into the city from our different sources. Because if what's happening that I believe is going to happen, I think we're going to have some excess revenues over expenditures that we can apply to the payment of this facility, which would minimize the amount of taxes we would have to ask our citizens to look at. And so our audit should be wrapped up here in the next, week to 10 days. We'll know more tomorrow after our discussion with the partner. And I've asked our finance director, Evan, to give us an update through the first 6 months of our fiscal year on where our revenues stand. I think once we get our hands around that, Mayor, we would be able to answer the question to the citizens of what this may take because I think with some things that are happening and some things we did last year, we're hoping to minimize, the tax increase that would take in. I think that's our goal, is to try to minimize that while providing an adequate, safe building for our police. So I think before we go to the next step of kind of answering that question, what this might cost in regards to revenue flows from the citizens, and I'm thinking we could have that in the next, like I say, maybe week, 2 weeks, and make some decisions there as we estimate and answer that question. Because as I've always said, I believe that's the roadblock, not the fact that we need the facility. And I just want to reiterate the fact that I fully support our public safety group, and I want them to be in facility. And I hope our citizens want to be proud of our city and how we take care of our employees. So if you could give us 2 weeks to get our hands around those two things, I think we can then move on to hiring the design firm and getting an estimate of what it may cost, because I believe, Chief, and you probably have this number, the architectural group, I think, is it's a pretty good chunk of change, isn't it? So I recall the original estimate was upwards of $500,000 to design the building. We kind of felt that was on the high side, but I think that's what the consultants built into the project cost. Does that ring a bell?
I can pull that up real quick if you want to.
Or John may recall.
That was design and engineering. So engineering is quite a big portion of that as well, but that is ballpark the correct number. Yes, 500,000.
So John, do you believe that we could go with the design portion only, or to get a real legitimate cost, would we have to go through the engineering process too, from your standpoint?
I think we could get a good estimate with a design only, because the engineering is it's almost a part of construction as much as it is a part of design. So
what would you estimate the design cost would be?
Helps if I unmute myself. I would say somewhere between 250 and 300 would probably be the design costs.
Okay, 250 and 300. And once again, I believe if we get through where the auditors are at, we don't know. They keep asking different questions than we've been dealing with historically in the city. I believe that we would have for the fiscal year that ended last June, excess revenues over expenditures that would allow us to transfer that amount into the projects account and use it for design. It's just that we haven't got the numbers from the auditors yet. So my recommendation would be that if things come in like we're anticipating for fiscal year ended June 30th of 2020, that we will have adequate funds of that nature to use for design. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. Could you give the committee, John, an update on the purchasing of the neighboring property? Status on that?
So I have talked to the landowner twice. They are currently, their son is living there, and he is still there. They originally thought he would move out about 6 months ago. But I think with our interest in the property and likely the demolition of the structure, their plans were originally to rehabilitate it and sell it. And I think that those plans have been put on hold a little bit because they know that we do not need a fancy kitchen if we are going to, in fact, raise the property to the ground. So but I have not talked to them for about 3 months, and so I'd be happy to reach back out to them.
Yeah, I think we should probably engage in that conversation, and maybe Robert could help in that aspect. I know that's his area of expertise, kind of real estate, and maybe be a support to you if needed, John. Would you be willing to do that if needed, Robert?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just going to say that, we've been working on this for a year, right? And in that year, values have just significantly climbed and climbed. And I did a market analysis for someone in October, and they're going to list their house this week. And the change from the time that I did the analysis in October to this week was $69,000. Okay. I mean, everything just continues to climb. And so I really appreciate your urgency, and I appreciate you taking the time to meet with Mayor Chug and just to try and get this on track quickly and get the finances straightened out, because things just continue to climb and it's not going to stop anytime soon from what I see.
Are you familiar with the property, Robert, we're talking about?
Absolutely. Yep.
How difficult would it be maybe to do an analysis of value, a quick one on that?
I'd love to. You bet. I'd
Okay.
be happy to. I can turn that into John.
John, is there's no law against that, is there, to give us a sensation of, because that's going to be part of our cost. So we might as well get a market value analysis unless you feel differently.
No, that would be very helpful. And especially as we're gonna, sounds like we might want to start even the conversation of having them work on some numbers. And I think the more information we can provide them, the better. So.
Okay, that would be good.
I was just going to say, Mayor, one of the great things is that John can put that purchase contract together and sew all that up, and I can volunteer my time to just try and get the numbers, accurate.
Perfect. Yeah, John's good at that with his real estate background. Mayor, would it be okay if we ask if other members of the committee have any comments to help us bring this into focus?
That would be great. As I look at the timelines here and the things we've been discussing, I don't know what else the committee can be involved in at this point in time until we move forward with these particular items that we've discussed this evening, and help with that, along with maybe open houses in the future once we get facts, figures, and be able to present something concrete. So, you need to let us know if there's anything else we need to participate in at this point in time. And yeah, we'd welcome any comments from the committee that are present this evening.
I think the only thing that the committee could further do is continue to talk in the community about the need of it, and just keep this on the forefront. I'm sure no matter what we do, as transparent as we try to be here, I even had Tim Vandernack when we had the open houses, put it in the paper. And I think maybe Mayor, social media, start talking about it on social media. For those who are familiar with that aspect of marketing, so to speak, and just get this out, start openly talking more about it. Excuse me, that we historically have. I think that's what the committee could continue to do.
Okay, maybe we could solicit some help from Robert again. And we had a video also, that we put together, but maybe putting some of that kind of information out. If Robert, if you could help us with that, I think that would be a big help.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, and post it, to the North Ogden page that I have, and share it with some of those that I associate with as well. But yeah, the video looks fantastic. That was one of my questions tonight, is kind of when were we going to start distributing that video? I mean, it was just done extremely well, and the staff did a fantastic job of explaining the needs. So I think it's a great opportunity to use, that tool.
Yeah, I think now is the time to start distributing that. So in answer to your question, Mayor, I think, continued exposure to the community, talking about it anytime that opportunity arises, getting the video out. I know Phil has a lot of followers on different sites that he's involved with. I think we engage you, Councilman Swanson, to start posting some things on that, making sure the video's out there. But I guess I failed to ask Council Member Stoker and Council Member Swanson if they were willing to take on that assignment. They have time to do that.
Yes, I do. Another question that has been asked to me, Mayor, that we might want to think about too, was that I've heard the question, and it's been sort of talked about, could we use the council room and make that a courtroom, that they could hold court in there also?
Yeah.
So I think that's a question to answer too.
Yeah, and the answer may be no, but I think the question has to be answered and asked. Councilman Swanson, are you able to do that?
I'd be happy to. Going back to the small group of us getting together, I think we're missing one component in that group, and that is having either Brandon Miles or Laura there to represent the courts. We have the police chief there that knows policing and public safety. You and I are there to look, and Councilwoman Stoker from the city side of things. We have Chairman Chug there and other key individuals, but none of us are really experts on the court system and what our current standing is with the waiver we have to get every year, and what the benefit liability is of having a regional court versus a local court. I think if we could get Brandon Miles, our prosecutor, involved, if he's willing to be involved, and perhaps even Laura involved, so that we have a better understanding from the court's perspective, the pros and cons, I think we'd be able to make a better decision.
Good point. So let's oversight on my part. So good comment.
And then on the social media, I can team up with Robert, and we can get all kinds of things flying.
Yeah, we might as well get it out there and start addressing the issues and getting the questions answered. So
it might be nice for John or Evan if we could provide just a general scale, if you will. If we bonded for $5 million, what would the impact be? If we bonded for 7.5, what would the impact be?
Yeah.
If we bonded for 10, what would the impact be, so that residents have an idea and we have actual numbers that we can help people understand, rather than scare tactics or inflated imaginary numbers that get thrown around.
Yeah, I think, Councilman, that's one of the reasons we'd like to proceed with the design, to get that idea, because we don't want to go through. I remember a previous situation. You were probably on the council at that point in time, where we kind of riled up the citizens, telling them we needed 10 million when we really didn't have our hands around the cost. So I agree. We want to be factual and transparent. And I think getting that design done with an estimate would give us a thing, and we can start working with Zions. Once again, as Councilman Swanson always reminds me, the mayor takes the heat, but he doesn't have a vote. But I am still of the opinion that this, I would like to take this as a general obligation bond and let the citizens vote on it. And so we probably ought to have that discussion too, to make sure we're all on the same page in that regard, because there is another option, right?
Mayor, Laura has had her hand up. I think she would like to make a comment.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Oh, Laura is here. Great.
Laura?
So I was asked some of these questions initially, but apparently the answers may not have been distributed widely. But you may want to involve Judge Lambert in this process. He does preside over some jurisdictions that have what is called an interlocal agreement. There aren't regional courts, but there are interlocal agreements. The judge is very aware of the fiscal impact that interlocal agreements have on different jurisdictions, the one participating, the one giving the money. He's got years of experience in that. Brandon Miles, I think Judge Lambert is the one that has this information. He's also very aware of what the state requires. The state doesn't always let a city decide to just end their court without a longer process, and there's a long answer to that question. It would be good to have an opportunity for he and I to be able to give a presentation that touches on everything about what the state requires as to whether or not the council room could be used to host court. Because the short answer is yes, the long answer is with changes and with some construction. So I think initially when I was asked about that, I thought the city didn't want to put more money into that building to change it, to make it compliant with state standards, and wanted the options of having the multi-use space in the other building. But everything is obviously still on the table. And if there are burning questions that concern the court, as far as what you mentioned, the courtroom and the regional court, then I think the court needs a chance to present some information that will help everybody understand where the city stands as having a court.
Thank you, Laura. I think that's a good point. Let's get Judge Lambert involved instead of Prosecutor Miles. And Laura, I just want to clarify, we just need to have answers to the questions. And as part of this group, I think that's what we would look at as the questions are asked. We would want to have the data to support the answer so that when the citizens ask these same questions, we're prepared to answer that. So I do want to just make sure that we all understand that this is an open discussion. No decisions have been finalized. It's a information seeking opportunity. And so we will be open, and that's why I think we've asked, for instance, to have people involved so that we can make sure we're getting the answers. You guys are much more familiar with things than we are as a council. So be assured that we will be open and looking for the pros and cons to help in making our decision. So good points. Thank you very much. Mayor, is there anything else, or any other council committee member that would like to make a comment at this point in time?
Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Severing.
I can't speak for Ryan, Councilman Barker, or Councilwoman Ekstrom on this, but I would like to be to that meeting, even though my assignment on the council is with Public Works. I'd like to be to that meeting if at best I'm just observing and listening. You refer to questions and being able to answer questions of the citizens. I would like to just be able to be there to be able to hear the discussions, so that if I have questions come to me, I can comfortably and confidently be able to answer questions of the citizens. So take that into consideration. I'll make my schedule work. Again, I can't speak for a Councilwoman Ekstrom or Councilman Barker, but I'd like to be at that meeting as well.
Yeah, let me assure that the council will be making the final decision, so all information will be brought back to the council. But everyone's welcome. I've just found that sometimes you get more hands in the pot. You don't move things along, but it's going to be obviously a council decision. So we were thinking about maybe meeting tonight in person at 7:30. Can you make it?
Well, I can't, but that's why I mentioned even if I'm just an observer, to be able to listen, I think that would help me.
Anyone's welcome from the council. It's going to be ultimately their decision. So we will make the entire council aware of the time frame. But I would like Councilman Swanson from the finance side and Council Member Stoker, who has that assignment to kind of lead the effort from the council. But all council members are always welcome. It'll ultimately be their decision.
John, will we be running afoul of any having a quorum of council members there if we have 3 or more?
If there are 3 council members, then we will have to just run it as a regular public meeting. We just have to call it as a special meeting if it was on a night different than a Tuesday night or in the day.
Okay.
That's a good point. And frankly, I believe you get more done and more detail, but we have nothing to hide. So that would be the difference, Councilman Severy. So we can have further discussion with the council. But we don't want to be exclusionary by any means. We just want to get things moving forward. But thank you for bringing that up. Muchly appreciated. Any other comments, council? Well, we'll have some comments from the council a little bit later, but any other comments from the committee?
I'll just real quick. I hope I'm not a thorn in anybody's side. But I was talking to one of my staff members, and we were looking back, and it's hard to believe that it was in April. It will be 2 years since we first started committing some man hours to this project. And I feel like a lot of the things that keep coming up, and a lot of the questions that we keep answering keep coming up that they need to be answered. And I appreciate everything that everybody's doing and done, and like I said, I hope I'm not overstepping my bounds, but. And Mayor, with all due respect, I think some of these questions that we're going to meet in order to have answers, we've met and come up with answers.
Well, and I appreciate that, Chief, but I would tell you the tough questions on this building have not been asked yet. So they haven't been asked, they haven't been answered. So there are some tough questions that have to be answered here. We're talking about a $10 or $11 million expenditure, probably the biggest expenditure the city's ever made. And I would correct, my understanding is a public safety building is being discussed as a need for 4 or 5 years. So
the discussion has been going on a lot longer than that, I could tell you.
Yeah, so we need to bring that to a head, but I would tell you some of the tough questions haven't been asked yet, so they haven't been answered in my opinion. So but we don't want to regurgitate things, but that's why I suggest we have this meeting, because there's some tough questions to be asked. But and I'll take that responsibility on. And as you'll recall, we had a work session some time ago, and the council was going to get in and really go through and digest. I remember Council Member Ekstrom talking about just making a point, the kind of doorknobs and things we have, and just being prudent. And frankly, we never followed through on that, Chief. So it's probably on us as the council that's deferred that. So I think you guys have done all you can, but there's some questions that need to be asked that frankly have been asked in private, but haven't had the courage to ask in public. So it's time to do that now.
I'm happy to help however I can.
I know you will. And that's why we need you there, and Mayor Chug and those others that have been suggested. So, okay.
Mayor, it looks like Jay Johnson has had his hand up.
Yeah, I can't see that, John. Are you monitoring that?
I have been noticing. I just haven't jumped in.
Okay, let's hear from Jay then. He's on the committee.
Hey, just I've been kind of an absentee member of late. I had an employment change, and so I've been training the last few months, getting up to speed. Anyhow, I just when you're talking about doing some of the promotional stuff with social media and stuff, do we have like a rough rendering or something we could put on the city page too, just as a, you know, as you log onto a page and have some things flashing that could just maybe flash like a rendering, maybe where it would be sitting or something like that when they start a design, might be kind of helpful, because I know a lot of people visit the page to, you know, see what day their garbage day is, if it's a holiday or whatnot, you know. And another thing, just thrown out there too, could we, I don't know, with it being a public safety meeting, what the rules would be. This would be a question for John Call probably. Any development or like philanthropic type of opportunities for, you know, donors in the city to be able to put a name on the building or something like that? Is that apropos for a public safety building or a city building, just for thinking outside the box a little bit?
Yeah, there's nothing that prohibits the city from accepting donations and naming facilities after folks who donate.
So if, say someone wanted to purchase naming rights or something like that, you know, name it after a family or something, they could, you know, we could set a mark or something.
I think the Bowler Public Safety Building sounds good to me. No, I think that's surely something the committee could look at the appropriate time, Jay. Don't know, you know, what the success with that would be. You know, there was a lot of discussion that we had donors lined up to contribute to another project we did in the city, but we haven't had anybody come forth yet, so. But doesn't hurt to try.
Well, you know, some people have been getting, you know, fairly wealthy with development and things in the city, and maybe want to have a little bit of a legacy for their family or something like that to, you know, carry on a name or something. So there's maybe some opportunities to plant some seeds or things
Yeah,
like that.
never hurts to ask.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your comment. John, do you see any other hands up? For those needing to make comments?
Oh, sorry. No, don't see anybody right now.
Okay. Anything else from the committee? So just to make sure we're all on the same page here, we've made a commitment from the city staff within the next 2 weeks to kind of get our hands around what we think the revenue source and flow would be to affect what might be a property tax increase. We will then look at that and try to make our best estimate of flows we currently have in the city that could be used to pay for a bond that would probably require some supplement from a tax increase. We will also have our hands around the audit to determine what excess revenues were over expenses and try to make the determination that we have. I'm pretty confident we will, unless there's major audit adjustments that we're unaware of. We will have adequate money that would go into capital projects that would allow us to proceed along with a rendering or a design phase of the building. Of course, we would have to give them information. And so the other thing is, John, you're going to set up a meeting, and I don't want this in any way to be secret. If we need to have this as an open meeting, I'm all for that. I just want to, as the chief said, I don't want to keep regurgitating the same things. I think it's time now to get on track. You know, obviously we've had some setbacks. We didn't expect this last year with COVID and some of the other things that have gone on. So we will set up that meeting immediately. I guess, John, we need to answer the question, do we want everyone involved? This is just kind of an information seeking meeting. It's not a decision meeting, but I'm one that's always would would rather be safe than sorry in regards to, being accused of not being transparent. So we'll need to make that decision, but I'd like to get that meeting set up, whichever direction we go immediately, so we can proceed along to make sure that we're on the same page in regards to design. The other thing I understand is that the members of the committee, Robert will kind of head this up along with Phil, of increasing our social media exposure. Robert, if I understand right, agreed to give us kind of a market value assessment of the property that we would need to build this. Is there any other assignments? We'll need to contact Judge Lambert to see his availability. Is there anything else assignment-wise that we haven't discussed? And our time frame is to try to get that information on finances within 2 weeks.
Okay. Mayor, can I just make one suggestion?
Yes, sir.
I would just recommend, there are clearly critics to the project. And I think if we invite them to be involved just as much as possible, and even on this committee or to every possible meeting, to every possible anything, and to have all their questions answered, I just think that would be really helpful. Anyway, I guess I would just leave everyone with that. It's easy to poke fun after the meeting, and have a lot of speculation and that kind of thing. But I really feel like we need to encourage some of these folks to just get involved.
Robert, that's a great idea. I'd like the chief maybe to give us a report on the discussion we've had in that very regard. Chief, you want to let committee member Bowler know the efforts we've kind of made along those lines and the response we've received?
Yeah,
From probably one of the larger critics of the project.
Yeah, there was some, an individual that I'm not going to say whether they were for or against or proponent or not. And but they had some questions, and a lot of questions, and we had a couple of discussions, and I can't remember who it was. It was probably the committee itself, or maybe it was just at one of our city staff meetings. But that it would be a great idea to invite this particular person to come and participate in our committee. And the invite was put out a couple times, and it just was never accepted. That I guess they felt that there was no need, that the committee's job was done, and it wouldn't be productive. So we just.
But I would say
we
made it very clear that the no final decisions had been made. And to Robert has pointed out, there are individuals in the community that have been making calls and sending out emails, questioning why it went from a $6 million building to an $11 million building. And I think people need to have the courage to stand up and, get the answers to their questions. But I would say when somebody is undermining the cost and the approach, and I'm open, anybody can ask questions, but Robert, along those very lines, that's the very thought I had is you might be familiar with the book, The Team of Rivals. And I believe it's always better you get the full perspective of people and asking questions, but all we can do is invite. We can't force, but look, let's just be open about this. There's been emails sent out, there's been calls made about, particularly questioning the cost of this building. And frankly, there was never an accurate estimate to begin with. And I think we've learned our lesson about putting numbers out there before we get our hands around it, because it comes back to haunt us. So, but we're surely open for that, and more than happy to invite others. Just let us know who you feel we should invite, and we'll more than happy to get them involved. So. Okay, so good point. But we've tried, but no luck this far. So maybe you can give us some additional folks that would be willing to help. So, okay, Mayor Chug, do you have anything else?
No, I think with me proceed with these things that we discussed this evening, and it would be very helpful. That would give us all the information that we need to discuss with these people. Like you say, we've heard 6 million to 10 million, and we really don't know what it is. And getting a design firm to put a design together so that we can get a reasonable estimate would be very helpful in moving this forward.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, based upon what we know now, we've had an estimate. I think the chief is right. You know, we've got an estimate of what was it, around 11 million all in, chief, before cost increases? 11.2 million, does that ring a bell?
Nearly 11.3, 11.28.
Okay, I rounded down, so a pretty good guess on 11.2. And that's before, as was mentioned by Mr. Bowler, that we've had increases. So we do have an estimate. I think the only thing is have we really identified everything that's in the building? And I think that's why we need to nail that down finally and get an agreement on that. Okay, hey Robert, when could you? How long do you think it might take you to give an analysis of market value on that property?
I've got it on my list to do tomorrow, so I'll jump on it tomorrow. It'll probably take me a couple of days to get it really right. So
okay,
yeah, I'll be on it tomorrow.
All right, thank you,
Mayor.
Yes, Councilman Swanson.
I've had a thought as we're talking about kind of getting these hard questions answered, asking the hard questions, and getting the answers to those questions. And I appreciate the chief's input and Laura's input and everyone. I think also for us as council, we have to remember what we were elected to do. You talk about asking the hard questions. We were elected to make the hard decisions on behalf of the residents. We're not poll takers. That's not what a representative government is. And we've been elected to represent what's best for North Ogden City. And I think as we go forward and we talk about what type of bond we decide to do, how much we decide to bond for, all of those things, I think we need to be prepared to make the hard decision and not abdicate that responsibility back to the citizens by saying, let's just do whatever they say. Again, that isn't how a representative government works, and that isn't what we were elected to do. And so certainly we want, and it's important to have the input from the residents. But the decision rests in our hands. That's again why we were elected. And I think we have to use a phrase that I don't always like, but I think we need to man and woman up and we make the decision. And then if residents feel they want to take action after that, that may be something that they can do. But I think we need to be prepared to make hard decisions and do that on behalf of the residents as we were elected to do.
And that's a good point, Councilman Swanson. As you know, I've talked about the need for the council to have courage, right? To make those tough decisions. But let me just ask this question. If we go with a general obligation bond, the citizens will probably have the final say, at least this year.
Right.
Because they will vote at the ballot box on the bond.
Right.
Based upon what you're saying, and we will have the courage to make the decision. But are you recommending that we go with a revenue bond? Because ultimately the decision will be with the citizens when they go to the ballot box to approve or disapprove the bond.
Well, with a revenue bond, if I'm thinking correctly, it would be something that they would refer. They'd have to have a petition. If there was sufficient folks that wanted to put it on a ballot at that point, then there would be thresholds that have to be met and those kinds of things. I'm not saying that we do one or the other. What I'm saying is let's not lock into one or the other in a partial or in any partial way of trying to take the onus off of us. A GO bond, the decision isn't ours at all. It is 100% the residents. And I don't believe that's why we were elected, to just kind of throw out a poll. That's essentially what we'd be doing, is throwing out a poll. Do you want a bond or not? Simply because clamor has a way of energizing. We see it all the time. You see small, not representative groups that can control things. We see it in our state more than you do in other states. You can have small groups, clamorous, loud groups who control things because they're loud and clamorous, and they don't necessarily represent the feelings of the population as a whole. What I want to do is what we've been elected to do, and that is do the best we can, due diligence, everything, to make the best decision for North Ogden City's residents, all 20,000 of them. And I don't know if that's a revenue bond. I don't know if that's a GO bond. But I think we need to be willing to go either way and not lean towards one or the other until we have all of the information.
Well, I fully understand your comments, Councilman Swanson, but I will reiterate, this kind of money, I think the citizens have the right to have input. So I will continue to stand on a general obligation bond, but once again, I don't have a vote.
Oh, I completely agree with the principle of the citizens having input. But the biggest input that they have is when they vote in the council.
It's true.
And perhaps vote us out.
True. Very true. Very true. Somebody said there are consequences to elections, right?
Right. Well, and like I said, I'm not committed to either direction on the bond. I just, as a council, I want us to have that resolve to make the decisions that we were elected to make, and have the courage to make those decisions, and not try to push off some of the responsibility or the accountability to some other source.
Yep, I think we just have information and transparency, and then we'll be smart enough and have the courage to make the right decision as we progress down the road. So
absolutely.
Is there anything else before we move off that? Does everybody have their assignments? Do we have any further comments? All right. Thank you for all the great work you've done as a committee. We're going to move forward on this, and our goal is to have a decision one way or the other. If we go with a general obligation bond, we know the deadline for that, and it takes some publishing. And John, maybe you could work with the guys from Zion so that we know all the deadlines, that if we decide to go with the general obligation bond, that we would not miss the election in 2021 November. So if you could do that as your assignment so that we can back into the timeframes we have, and find out all the information on both types of bonds that we need, revenue and general obligation.
Yes, of course, Mayor.
If you could do that, we don't want to miss any deadlines and defer this thing another year. Steve, is that, Mayor, does that sound like we're on track to move this thing forward from your standpoints, or what else can we do?
No, I think if we move forward on what the assignments have been made this evening, I think we'll be a giant step ahead.
Okay, well,
I think we've made some substantial steps tonight.
Yeah,
really looking forward to it.
We gotta get out of low gear.
Councilman Swanson, you're the You're the kind of historian here. Wasn't there somebody on the moon, one step for, what was that saying again?
One small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind.
Okay, so one small step for the committee tonight, one giant step for the citizens going forward. How's that?
Sounds great.
All right. We haven't heard much from Councilman Barker or Council Member Ekstrom. Do you want to wait till we get to Council Mayor, or would you have anything you'd like to add at this point in time? Want to make sure we include you.
I agreed with everything that was said. So.
Okay.
Yeah, my only input would be to really, again, agreeing with you, Mayor, about having the process be really transparent. We're going to be doing a lot of analysis, right? We're going to be looking at a lot of different plans and decisions between, are we going to go with this way or go with that way? And I think the more we can have that information really available and easily available, especially like we can have Robert and Phil posting on social media videos, like really quick clips. Oh, this is why we chose to do this really fast, 10-second video, so people can realize like, oh, that's why we're choosing to spend that extra $1 million on this, because that's going to be better for the citizens. And then it's not just like, oh, you're going to spend another $1 million, but there's a reason for it. So I think part of what's hard for people to swallow is they don't really understand how expensive these buildings are to make, and how expensive construction is, especially right now. So I think the more we can keep them educated, then we can kind of stave off the spin that might just go like, they're going to take it out of your wallet, so that I think people are really reasonable and are willing to pay for things when they can see the value of it.
Well, and as I've said before, and Councilman Swanson knows, I've asked him to sit down and meet. There are many needs in the city that have been deferred for a long time, and we need to balance those. But let me just say this, because I think your comment is excellent, Council Member Ekstrom. As decisions are made, which is the obligation, as Councilman Swanson has pointed out, as those decisions are made, my commitment is that we will lay this whole thing out and at least get input before we make a final decision. So each little decision will, I don't think, it would be efficient on every one, but as we get major decisions, we will lay those right out to the public because we have nothing to hide. And ultimately, as we approach these deadlines that John will get back to us with, I know the council has the same feelings of transparency. And yes, I think Council Member Severin can tell you, I've talked a lot about courage and making the right decisions. And so I'm in full agreement there. But I would like to make sure that our citizens have a final look so there's, no surprises. At least they have the opportunity to have no surprises. Okay. Thank you for your comments. Chad, welcome. We can't hear you though. Even when you're off mute, we can't hear you. Does anybody know sign language? Yeah, some reason we can't hear you, Chad.
He's on mute.
But even when he's off mute, we can't hear him.
That's true.
Is he a panelist?
Huh? He's a panelist. I think. Where's your microphone, Chad?
Chad, I would unplug your headset.
He's got quite a command central there, so it's really complicated. He's gonna make it
Hey,
hard.
maybe you could tell what you have to say with pictures. He's writing it down, I think. You're on mute now, Chad. You muted. Okay, give us a call and we'll see what we can do to help. Technology is wonderful. It's wonderful. But thanks for joining us, Chad.
I think there's a 7-screen limit, Chad, and you've got 8 or more, so that's why your mic's not working.
He doesn't know which microphone. All right, well, give us a call, Chad. Thanks, committee, for all your good work, and our commitment is we'll now do our job and move forward and get this thing going.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, and we apologize for our delay. We'll take that responsibility.
Okay, we'll move it along.
All right, thank you.
I'll start digging tomorrow.
Get your tool belt on, come on down.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on to our next item then, which are public comments on our agenda.
We
You
have,
watch for that, John?
yeah, we do have a comment from Meg Sanders.
All right, Meg, if you would give us your full name and address, it'd be appreciated.
Yeah, Megan Sanders, 2915 North, 875 East in North Ogden. I haven't been able to listen for a while, so it's good to be back on. But I have a few things I wanted to go over. So I saw that we have Robert Bowler and Phil Swanson handling social media on the prison or the public safety build. I want to know what's going to happen with the city page and what's going to happen for those that are not on social media, how they're going to understand and know all these things. I also wanted to know how it is that it wouldn't be initially put on the city page and then other pages would pick it up and share. I'm on neither Robert nor Phil's page. So just curious how that would work.
It will be on the city page. We're just trying to get it on all pages that people look at, Meg. So that's a good point. But yes, anything that comes from the city will be on the city page.
Okay, and for my 86-year-old grandfather, how will he know about the 11.28?
When you visit him.
I can't visit him due to COVID, so.
Can you call him?
He can't hear.
We're going to do everything we can.
Kind of like Chad Roylance, I have to write it down and pass it over to him.
No, your point's good, Meg, but once again, I think hopefully we've evidenced the fact. We've had articles in the paper. We've had articles in the notices in the bills. We will continue to
okay.
Do
I just
all
want
we
to make
can.
sure that
Yeah.
this is an equal platform, because whether people want to admit it or not, social media is powerful. Who controls the social media and who puts out the message matters.
We're going to use as many outlets as we can.
Okay. The next thing is, I know that we decided last time that we would continue with the flower pots that are 30,000. And I wanted to know if we were following our own advice and buying anything local with those flower pots.
John, is Tiffany with us tonight?
She's not, but we do source those from a local nursery.
Okay.
It's not a city nursery, it's a Weber County nursery.
Okay, that's cool. That's great. Okay. The last thing, oh, maybe the last thing, sorry, I'm going to try to make this quick. I know I have a time limit. So on December 24th at approximately 5 p.m., my car was broken into and my purse was stolen, as well as many other things, as well as the people across the street from me, including my 87-year-old neighbor. He was robbed. I called North Ogden PD. I don't know if it was due to COVID, due to time constraints. And bear in mind, this was during the day. This wasn't left overnight. I got done doing some early morning shopping and ran inside, got home about 5. And it wasn't until 2 a.m. I noticed that my purse had been stolen. And at 6:22 p.m., so an hour and 20 minutes after it had been taken, somebody had used my debit card and cleared out my accounts, as well as my health savings account card. So I called and made a police report, as I said. I never got to see the officer in person. He only spoke to me for all of 10 minutes. He never followed up with me. There was no calling Target to see, because the person had gone to Target, and from what I'm told, Target has one of the best surveillance systems in the country. The police officer never, as far as I know, went and got that surveillance video to actually see who had taken my purse. Also, earlier in December, I caught a porch pirate. I literally ran down the street chasing the car, wrote down the license plate number, got a description of the woman. I called North Ogden again. I gave them the license plate. The officer came to my home and told me that they couldn't get any name from the license plate number, and there was no pursuing of that. I want it to be known that last week, Roy police captured the woman that had been my porch pirate, allegedly. But I never heard anything from my own city's police officers. And I can't help but think of the broken windows policy, because when I've talked about this, so many people are resigned to the fact that their cars are being burglarized or their packages are being stolen. I by no means know what it's like to be a police officer. I have no idea what the difficulty of the job is, and I don't know what they have to deal with on a daily basis, except for, I work in the news business. I work for Fox 13, so I do know they are busy. But I do have concern that we are becoming complacent in these petty thefts. The last thing I want to reiterate is that Mayor Berube just said that this is $11.28 million. It is the biggest expenditure in the city's history. Now is the time to talk to the citizens who have no trust of their government and ask them how they feel about that expenditure during a time period when we are all having to adjust to tighter bank accounts. That's all I have to say. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your service and the time you take to be here.
Thank you, Meg. And several things I extracted from your comments. One thing I would like to emphasize, I know the chief is with us. This is an issue that, those of you know me, I just tell it how it is. We have enjoyed a very, very safe city. A lot of that is because of our public safety group. But as we grow and grow and grow, there's going to be more crime in this city. And as I said early on, we've been, call it blessed or lucky. We have what, Chief? One officer about per 1,000 people, just rounding?
A little less than 1 per 1,000, yeah.
Yeah. I round, remember, I'm an accountant, so I round.
You round down though, right?
But the average, I think, in the country is over 2.2. Now, I'm not professing to say we are a community of crime, but I think we all need to recognize that it's going to be very difficult to continue to have one officer per approximately 1,000 people. And I think that plays into the discussion on this building. It's about keeping our citizens safe, retaining and recruiting officers of the caliber we need. And I just wanted to say, we need to recognize that as we grow, crime will increase and we're going to need more officers, and we can't pack too many more into the sardine can, to be honest with you. So thank you, Meg, for your comments. John, do we have anything else?
We do have a comment from Susan Clemens.
Hey, Susan, thanks for joining us this evening. Can you give us your name and address, please?
Yes. Can you hear me?
We can.
Good. Susan Clements, 668 East, 3125 North. I was a little disappointed when I heard you speak and I heard Chairman Chug give his report. I thought we were going to have a decision tonight, but so I was disappointed, but I know that's going to take some time. It seems to me that something was said about applying for grants for the public service and courts building. Has anyone looked into applying for grants, either federal, state, or county?
Chief, you want to answer that? I know we've had discussions about that. You have the latest update on where we're at on that?
Yeah, I can tell you, I've probably spent the last year and a half searching the various databases of grants, and although there are a number out there, they're specifically targeting particular groups, tribal areas, communities that are hit by mining and federal lands. I've yet to find one that North Ogden would qualify for, at least one that's substantial. Obviously, there's ones out there for, $500 to $1,000, which we utilize annually, and it's not going to make a significant dent. But as far as one that I think the people are looking for, I've yet to find one that we would be eligible to apply for.
Susan, does that answer your question? Yes, we've had that on our mind.
Okay, thank you. Second, I would really encourage you, Mayor, to broadcast this meeting that you're having. I think it would really help for transparency if the citizens could see and hear the discussion and get the information that you're going to be getting. I think that would be good. Also, the last thing is, have we discussed combining police force similar to our fire district, where we combine that with Pleasant View and Harrisville?
There have been discussions on that historically. Chief, you want to give Susan an update on any recent discussions on that? But I know there's been some studies about that, even some questions asked about, do we go back to having the sheriff's department? You want to give Susan the latest update on that from your standpoint?
Well, without taking up the rest of the evening, yeah, there's been studies done on this going back 40 years. That question occasionally comes up, and there's pros and cons, both financial and service, from a service perspective. Like I said, I can go into my personal perspective on it, but the studies have not been favorable for doing it, mostly from a service standpoint, and then also from a financial standpoint.
So I think the answer, Susan, is yes, that has been addressed, and we're not afraid to have the chief give us an update on that. So
okay,
studies have been done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Chief, there's one thing you failed maybe to mention tonight, is the commitment you made is if the building's met, you'll figure out how to get the equipment, right?
Some of the equipment.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
So I only bring that up from the chief to let you know that, the chief is very conservative, and he understands that, the fiduciary duty we have, and he's doing all he can to hold costs down on the building too. So, but I think that's admirable that the chief says, hey, we'll find a way to get certain equipment and reduce the cost to the citizens. So chief, appreciate that too. Okay. John, is there any other public comments?
We do have a hand from Brenda Ashdown.
Now, is this a cumulative 5-minute deal, John? Or no, just kidding. Brenda, take the time.
Oh, no, I don't even think I took 2 minutes the first time.
Well, take what time you need, up to 5 minutes. Go ahead.
I'll stay to my 3. Brenda Ashdown, 193 East Pleasant View Drive. My comment is just, it saddens me that you had these open houses, and I realized that COVID was involved and it was chilly, but that only 35 people came. And I appreciate that you'll do the website and the social media. And I know about it because I have chosen to participate in these meetings to find out what's going on in the city. But I find it very sad that it only interested 35 people trying to get this information out there. But when it comes time to make a decision, there's going to be a lot of people against it who are not going to have any information. And I mean, I have no solution. Just my opinion that I find that to be very sad.
Yeah, I think you've got a good point there, Brenda. And so our job as a committee and as a council is to do all we can to invite people to learn about it, But I think that's how kind of government works, and it comes back probably to Phil's comment. That's why you can't let the minority make the decision. You have to gather your facts, you have to analyze it, and then make the right decision for the city. Because as you know, with 35 citizens, if they were all negative against this, and we have 21,000 citizens, it would be a tragedy for us to let that happen. So let me assure you, we'll do our homework, our due diligence, and we'll have the courage to make the right decision. But you're very correct in your statement. So thank you.
And I understand that, and I appreciate that. And I know that as the city council and the committee, you will do your homework and you will know the facts. My concern is the only interest that many citizens are going to have is the money interest,
Yep.
which nobody wants to pay. But somehow on their own, they have to have the desire to look a little farther and see why this is important. And not just this, but anything that's done in the city. That's my opinion. I'm done.
Thank you very much. You're always
Thank
welcome to
you.
express your opinion. We appreciate you joining us. So thank you. John?
That looks like it.
All right. Well, I think we've got some good feedback, and we'll surely consider that as we make decisions going forward. And I think I can speak for the council. We have nothing to hide, and we'll be as transparent as we can. We just want to find the balance between not getting, stuck in the mud versus moving forward. So we'll balance that, and with the ultimate of having transparency in mind, Brenda. So thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 6. Council, any other comments about tonight's meeting you want to make? Councilman Swanson, I see you've unmuted.
Just one, as Meg was making her excellent comments, I was thinking, given the scope of this project and the money that will end up being spent to build the building that's necessary, I don't see that investing a few $1,000s that it would cost to do a special mailer that had, excuse me, well-designed graphics and bullet point information that's easy to read, that answers some of the difficult questions, and that, it may be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages long, something so that we can have some graphs and, or pictures and those kinds of things. But I think for me, it would be worth the cost to get that out to every home, so that every resident had the information that we're trying to use to make a good decision.
I think that falls into our commitment to transparency.
Right.
So, and Chief, before I forget too, if you're still with us, would you follow up with Meg on the stolen property aspect of things, and see where we're at on that, if you wouldn't mind?
I will. I've made myself a note already, so.
I saw you writing it down, so I'm pretty confident you would. All right, any other comments from the council? Any other comments from the committee?
I just have a quick comment, Mayor. I just
Okay.
want to, I've
Perfect.
had my purse stolen and my accounts emptied out, and I just want to give my condolences to Meg. That is really awful. And on Christmas Eve. So, my heart goes out to you. I'm really sorry that happened. And please, yeah, if I can do anything personally to help mitigate that loss, that's really hard, especially your health savings account too. So I'm really sorry, Meg. That's hard.
I think delivery of a nice pizza might be good. You are in the pizza business,
That I can do. I can't send pizza.
Yeah, it's it becomes personal and intrusion, and it's terrible. But as we meet in staff meetings, and the chief, I think, would support this. We see these seasonal things, and it's these burglaries and stuff just continue to climb. They're getting more brazen, I guess, is the term I would use, chief, with what's going on. But I have confidence in our police force, and I know that the chief will follow up on that. So, and I know that Charlotte will follow up on the pizza delivery. So that won't replace the money. I know. All right. Staff members, do you have any comments this evening? John?
I don't have any additional ones, Mayor.
Clark, did you have anything you wanted to say tonight?
I'm good, thanks.
All right. The Griswolds have spoken. It's an inside joke, Chief. All right. Well, we will move on then to item number 7. And we are looking to have a discussion or action to consider entering into a closed meeting for the purpose of discussion regarding the character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual. And so at this point in time, I would be looking for a motion from the council to recess the active agenda and enter into a closed meeting to discuss those things I mentioned. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Yes, Councilman Severie.
I move that we recess the open meeting and convene in a closed meeting.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
We have a second by Councilmember Stoker. All in favor of recessing this meeting and entering into a closed meeting, say aye.
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 All right. John Iso, our meeting is recessing at 7:37 p.m. If you would send out the contact information for the private meeting, we'll get that started. And thanks for joining us this evening, and we'll now recess into